Welcome back to Wander and Wonder Storytime with Priscilla. Today we're continuing with Chapter 7 of Winnie-the-Pooh. When we left off, Pooh was trying to distract Kanga so the other animals could exchange Roo with Piglet. Let's see how their plan unfolds. Chapter 7, Part 2. Lines written by a bear of very little brain. On Monday, when the sun is hot, I wonder to myself a lot, now is it true, or is it not, that what is which, and which is what? On Tuesday, when it hails and snows, the feeling on me grows and grows, that hardly anybody knows if those are these or these are those. On Wednesday, when the sky is blue and I have nothing else to do, I sometimes wonder if it's true that who is what and what is who. Thursday, when it starts to freeze and hoarfrost twinkles on the trees, how very redly one sees that these are whose, but whose are these? On Friday, yes, it is, isn't it? Said Kanga, not waiting to hear what happened on Friday. Just one more jump, Roo dear, and then we really must be going. Rabbit gave Pooh a hurry up sort of nudge. Talking of poetry, said Pooh quickly, have you ever noticed that tree right over there? Where? Said Kanga. Now, Roo. Right over there, said Pooh, pointing behind Kanga's back. No, said Kanga. Now jump in, Roo dear, and we'll go home. You ought to look at that tree right over there, said Rabbit. Shall I lift you in, Roo? And he picked up Roo in his paws. I can see a bird in it from here, said Pooh. Or is it a fish? You ought to see that bird from here, said Rabbit. Unless it's a fish. It isn't a fish, it's a bird, said Piglet. So it is, said Rabbit. Is it a starling or a blackbird, said Pooh. That's the whole question, said Rabbit. Is it a blackbird or a starling? And then at last Kanga did turn her head to look, and the moment that her head was turned, Rabbit said in a loud voice, In you go, Roo! And in jumped Piglet into Kanga's pocket, and off scampered Rabbit with Roo in his paws as fast as he could. Why, where's Rabbit? Said Kanga, turning round again. Are you all right, Roo dear? Piglet made a squeaky Roo noise from the bottom of Kanga's pocket. Rabbit had to go away, said Pooh. I think he thought of something he had to go and see about suddenly. And Piglet? I think Piglet thought of something at the same time, suddenly. Well, we must be getting home, said Kanga. Goodbye, Pooh, and in 3 large jumps she was gone. I wish I could jump like that, he thought. Some can and some can't. That's how it is. But there were moments when Piglet wished that Kanga couldn't. Often when he had a long walk home through the forest, he had wished that he was a bird. But now he thought jerkily to himself at the bottom of Kanga's pocket, if this is flight, I shall never really take to it. And as he went up in the air, he said, ooh. And as he came down, he said, ow. And he was saying, ooh, ow, ooh, ow, all the way to Kanga's house. Of course, as soon as Kanga unbuttoned her pocket, she saw what had happened. Just for a moment, she thought she was frightened, and then she knew she wasn't, for she felt quite sure that Christopher Robin would never let any harm happen to Roo. So she said to herself, if they are having a joke with me, I will have a joke with them. Now then, Roo dear, she said as she took Piglet out of her pocket, bedtime. Aha, said Piglet as well as he could after his terrifying journey, but it wasn't a very good aha, and Kanga didn't seem to understand what it meant. That first, said Kanga in a cheerful voice. Aha, said Piglet again, looking round anxiously for the others, but the others weren't there. Rabbit was with baby Roo in his own house and feeling more fond of him every minute, and Pooh, who had decided to be a Kanga, was still at the sandy place on the top of the forest practicing jumps. I am not at all sure, said Kanga in a thoughtful voice, that it would be a good idea to have a cold bath this evening. Would you like that, Roo dear? Piglet, who had never been really fond of baths, shuddered a long, indignant shudder and said in as brave a voice as he could, Kanga, I see that the time has come to speak plainly. Funny little Roo, said Kanga as she got the bath water ready. I am not Roo, said Piglet loudly. I am Piglet. Yes, dear, yes, said Kanga soothingly and imitating Piglet's voice too. So clever of him, she went on as she took a large bar of yellow soap out of the cupboard. What will he be doing next? Can't you see, said Piglet. Haven't you got eyes? Look at me. I am looking, Roo dear, said Kanga rather severely, and you know what I told you yesterday about making faces. If you go on making faces like Piglet's, you'll grow up to look like Piglet, and then think how sorry you'll be. Now then, into the bath, and don't let me have to speak to you about it again. Before he knew where he was, Piglet was in the bath, and Kanga was scrubbing him firmly with a large lathery flannel. Ow! cried Piglet. Let me out! I'm Piglet. Don't open the mouth, dear, or the soap goes in, said Kanga. There, what did I tell you? You did that on purpose, spluttered Piglet as soon as he could speak again, and then accidentally had another mouthful of lathery flannel. That's right, dear, don't say anything, said Kanga. In another minute, Piglet was out of the bath and being rubbed dry with a towel. Now, said Kanga, there's your medicine and then bed. What medicine? Said Piglet. To make you grow big and strong, dear. You don't want to grow up small and weak like Piglet, do you? Well then. At that moment there was a knock at the door. Come in, said Kanga, and in came Christopher Robin. Christopher Robin, Christopher Robin, cried Piglet. Tell Kanga who I am. She keeps saying I'm Roo. I'm not Roo, am I? Christopher Robin looked at him very carefully and shook his head. You can't be Roo, he said, because I've just seen Roo playing in Rabbit's house. Well, said Kanga, fancy that. Fancy my making a mistake like that. There you are, said Piglet. I told you so. I'm Piglet. Christopher Robin shook his head again. Oh, you're not Piglet, he said. I know Piglet well, and he's quite a different color. Piglet began to say that this was because he had just had a bath, and then he thought perhaps he shouldn't say that, and as he opened his mouth to say something else, Kanga slipped the medicine spoon in and then patted him on the back and told him that it was really quite a nice taste when you get used to it. I knew it wasn't Piglet, said Kanga. I wonder who it can be. Perhaps it's some relation of Pooh's, said Christopher Robin. What about a nephew or an uncle or something? Kanga agreed that this was probably what it was and said that they would have to call it by some name. I shall call it Poodle, said Christopher Robin. Henry Poodle for short. And just when it was decided, Henry Poodle wriggled out of Kanga's arms and jumped to the ground. To his great joy, Christopher Robin had left the door open. Never had Henry Poodle Piglet run so fast as he ran then, and he didn't stop running until he had got quite close to his house. But when he was 100 yards away, he stopped running and rolled the rest of the way home so as to get his own nice, comfortable color again. So Kanga and Roo stayed in the forest, and every Tuesday Roo spent the day with his great friend Rabbit, and every Tuesday Kanga spent the day with her great friend Pooh, teaching him to jump, and every Tuesday Piglet spent the day with his great friend Christopher Robin. So they were all happy again. And we'll stop here for today. The friends are beginning to see that Kanga and Roo may not be quite what they expected, and that the 100-acre wood might just be big enough for everyone. Thank you for joining me today. I'll see you next time for another adventure. Bye.